Thank you everyone for tuning in. This is Ricas Pláticas. We're very excited to bring to you a very special guest today. I want to give a quick background story about Ricas Pláticas. For those of you that don't know, this is already our 5th episode. We already got 5 episodes going. Kind of feel like just yesterday we were getting started. We were buying our first little stand. But so whenever we started this, I was very, very uncomfortable. Like, I'm still kind of nervous, but it was something completely new for me. And I was like, man, this is going to be challenging. And when I heard about James Torres, which is our guest today, and I saw the stuff that was going on, the TV shows, the seasons that he was putting out. He has cars in Fast 7. He's born and raised here in Hobbs. He worked at Halliburton, worked with Hobbs PD, with the Drug Task Force. He started his shop in 2007, right?
Yeah.
Started his show, season 1 in 2016 and season 2 in 2017, and just keeps throwing out a lot of projects. He made 2 cars for GM Motors, right?
Yeah.
That is very, very impressive, James. We're very happy to have you here. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, so whenever we were starting Ricas Pláticas, like I said, I was very nervous, and when I saw yourself putting out all kinds of stuff out there, I was like, you know what? It not only can it be done, but it is being done by people. You're just a couple of blocks away from here,
Yeah.
So I was like, Jesus Christ, that was really the spark when I was like, you know what, let's do this.
Yeah, by someone here in the community, and that's really awesome that someone here in the community that people can actually be like, man, I know that guy.
Oh, yeah.
And someone that's actually making it here in Hobbs. Very impressive, James.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's very impressive.
But that's the main reason we stayed here. I grew up here, so years ago, like, I've always been a dreamer, so I grew up at the Hobbs Apartments. I've lived on Dunn Street, I've lived on Willow, I've lived all the low income apartments. My mom and dad were drug addicts and alcoholics. I've seen a lot of stuff. That's the reason for not drinking anymore. I used to drink in high school and everything, but whenever I had my oldest son, because I had my oldest son when I was 19 or 20, I quit drinking. I said, no more party for me, no more doing that. I said, I got a kid. And I saw a lot of crazy stuff growing up that I was just like, man, I ain't putting my kids through that, So, we've stayed here, we've lived here, we've grown here. And when we got this TV show, they asked me to move to L.A. The network was like, hey, we want you to film in L.A. We want to do all that stuff there. And I was like, you know what? I said, nah. I said, we started all this here in Hobbs. We built this whole shop right down the street, 313 West White. Mm-hmm. We've been there since day one, since we began. And I was like, you know what? We're staying here. We're going to do it here. And they left. They called me back and they were like, well, we might not get the show. I said, well, then we don't get the show. We'll do it somewhere else. We'll do something different. Mm-hmm. And they approached us. They approached us to audition. So we weren't even trying to find anybody. They actually found us through some other resources. And so we told them, hey, we're staying here. And so then they come back and they were like, okay, what if we send you out of town and your kids aren't involved? Mm-hmm. But my kids are my main workers at the shop. I don't have any other employees. So I said, nah. I said, if my kids got to be part of the show, I said, it's me and them. We've been through thick and thin together. We've always been by our sides. And I said, and we're doing it here.
How old are your kids?
My oldest son is 24, and then my next son is 21. That's CJ. JR's 24, CJ's 21, and then Paul's 18. And then I have 2 other kids with my new wife. And then I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Awesome.
And but my 3 oldest, me and their mom split up years ago. And when we split up, I told her, I said, you know what? I said, I'll take care of the kids. You go do your business. And she wanted to go out and whatever. And her and her boyfriend went and did their thing, and I kept the kids with me. And she ended up getting strung out on dope and some other stuff. So the kids have always been with me. But when I had the kids with me, JR was 9, CJ was 6, and Paul was 3. And so I was working at the task force, and I quit that, and because it was real hard for me to take care of them. That's kind of what I've always painted, so that's kind of where we transpired and got into.
How old were you when that all happened?
Let's see. Jared was 9, and I had him when I was 20, so I was 29. or I was 30, right at 30 years old.
30 years old.
So
take us back a little bit to where all this started, because you're saying you were working at Halliburton, then Hobbs PD, then the Drug Task Force. What was it? What was in you that was like, you know what, I want to own my own shop and I want to do something?
Yeah, see, and it wasn't. That's the funny part. That's the hard part, and then that kind of like transpires back to not leaving Hobbs. When we were offered this position, you know, we said no. I didn't really understand what was going on, and what's crazy is you got to have faith. And a lot of things happen in life for a reason. God puts everybody in certain places and everybody together for reasons, and you got to learn to recognize that. And my deal now, and what I learned after all this was said and done, and it can all go back now, is that my job was to inspire people. So God had a mission for me. When I was a cop, I was doing my thing, but that wasn't like, I didn't feel fulfilled. You know what I mean? I was making money. I had good pension. I had all the other stuff, you know, with the retirement. When I was working in task force, like I was having fun, like I was doing stuff. And even at Halliburton, you know, I was making over 100-something thousand a year at Halliburton. And then, you know, to quit all of that and to go into this was a big sacrifice. So like I was doing it all for nothing. You know, now I was my own employer. I was trying to make my own money. I was trying to figure all the stuff out. And then I was raising the kids, and then they were part of it. So everything happened for this reason. And then when we kept the show here, we realized why. Because when they were telling me to move, I was like, no, I'm not moving. You know, and then I said, we're doing it here. But what I learned over all this stuff, I was like, you know what? I need to show all the other Mexicanos and all the other people that are living at, you know, the Latinos and everybody, the people from Hobbs, the kids from growing up from the Hobbs apartments, that they can do this too. Yeah. Once I got the TV show, I was like, man, like the sky's the limit, you know? I was like, because if we do this show here, now all these people from around the United States, any other Mexicano, anybody can relate to me. Anybody can say, you know what? That dude was a single parent. That dude come from drug addicted and alcoholic, you know, family and a bunch of domestic violence. Grew up with his abuelito and abuelita, you know, lost them a few years ago. And then, you know, worked in the oil field, worked frack, worked, you know, wireline. I know what it's like to be out there. I know what it's like to work with pulling in there. So, like, everybody can kind of relate to me. You know, I didn't graduate high school. I got a GED. I went to the military. I was in the National Guard. And I was like, now I've got a TV show. I said, so I got to use this as a platform. And so it wasn't for the fact that it's like, oh, wow, I got this TV show. I mean, if anybody, once you guys get to know me, anybody, like, dude, I tell people, come hang out at the house. Like, I'm not, you know, I'm not culero or nothing about anything. I'm not big-headed. Like, we did this to help to show Hobbs. I don't have any support from Hobbs. I don't have any commissioners, any mayors. Nobody's come by and said, hey, you know, good job, whatever. Like, nobody pushed me to do this. This was my choice. But it was mainly because I wanted to show kids like me that they can do it.
Has anybody approached you after the show was already?
No, not even. And if you watch our show, we had 12 episodes. We did 2 seasons. Every episode, I always say, hey, I'm sending it back to Hobbs. You see the water tower. You see all that stuff. I mean, we've had a couple friends come by and like people from the community that'll come in or they'll see me out and they'll be like, hey, thanks for doing that, you know. But as far as like commissioners and stuff like that, nah. But I don't get, you know, like we were talking earlier, the politics stuff, I don't get involved in that. So like my deal is with that, you know. I mean, those guys, they play their little game, whatever. Like, I'm not in it for that. I'm not in it, you know, I'm not in it for any extra attention for them.
You're not trying to run for governor?
Oh, no. There's no governor or nothing for me. No, at all.
Whenever you were working with Halliburton, you said that, you know, you left a big sacrifice to start your own shop. Were you interested in cars before? Was that something that interested you?
Yeah, so the car part started all the way back when I was a kid. So like living at the Hobbs apartments stuff, like, you know, I hung out with a lot of the Negritos and, you know, all the other Mexicanos and everybody there. But we didn't have no money. So I didn't have no car. My grandpa had an ugly old Thunderbird. He had CB antennas and all kinds of other crazy stuff, but I skateboarded. So I was a skater, so I was always at the high school, you know, going to school with the friend. Benz, but I liked all the cool trucks. I liked all the cool mini trucks. And so, like, this is 90, 88, 89 ish when I'm in high school. Well, I liked all their stuff.
A while back, to just add to that.
Just a while back. Yeah. It's way back there. But, you know, all the kids had the stereos. There was even them Godfathers. Like the subwoofers were coming out, and basses and everything was real big, and I really liked it. But I never had it. So what I would do is, like, all of my friends that would say they would buy stuff or whatever, I would get the hand-me-downs from them. And so my grandpa ended up getting a little bitty station wagon, and so I would get home theater boxes, and I would take the speaker out, and I'd get some used subwoofers from somebody and do some work, and I started putting those in, and I always had a system. I always had a system in whatever my grandpa was driving, and I'd roll in there with him, and I'd always have my little stereo on, but it was all ghetto, you know, it was all, but it was mine, and I had so much fun with it. And you know, as time progressed, I ended up, you know, after I got back from basic training, I ended up buying me a little truck. And so then I started fixing up the truck, and I'd lowered it, and I was doing some stuff. It was an 85 model short wide, and I wanted flames. I wanted flames on my stuff. So I went down here to a Southwest Specialty Shop. I went by Lou's Body Shop and some other guys that I knew, and I was like, hey, I need y'all to paint flames. You know, I'll pay you. Nobody knew how to do flames. So I was like, man, I got to figure this out. So what I did is I found a friend of mine named Tony Moore that lives here. And I told Tony, because I was working at Napa then. And I told Tony, I said, hey, dude, like, you know, you got a shop at home and you paint. Like, teach me how to paint. I said, and I'll do it for free. I said, I'll come work with you. I said, just show me how to paint, because I want to learn how to do flames. So I went with Tony. I'd work with them during the week, and I started learning how to paint. Then once I started learning how to paint, well, I would paint people's stuff. And so then all my friends would be like, hey, we'll paint my car. I'd say, all right, cool, I'm going to paint it, but I'm going to paint it for free. You buy the paint. That way, if I screw it up, you can't get mad at me because I messed it up, but I'm practicing. So I was learning. Yeah. So, and then I met another guy, Richard. He did lowrider patterns. So I was like, dude, how do y'all do them patterns? He showed me how to use the tape. I said, how you do flames? He said, dude, I had never done flames, but just started laying it out. So, like, I taught myself. And, I love flames. Like, that's my whole deal. So, like, even when we were opening my shop, we were trying to decide names, and one of them was going to be Flames by James and stuff like that, which I'm glad we didn't. Now, you know, we came up with Demented, which was a whole lot better.
You're going to have to tell us how you came up with that name as well.
Yeah. And so you know, that just kind of transpired. I've always done cars. Like, I've always been in and out of that scene. But because I didn't have money, I learned to do it. One of the things is when I saw these other guys with stuff, I didn't envy them. A lot of people get jealous. A lot of people see somebody else and they say, oh, well, that must be nice. Yeah. Not me. I'm like, okay, well, what do I got to do to get that? And I figure out what I have to do. I don't sit here and say, well, I ain't never going to get that. I just got to figure out what I'm going to do, because I have a goal. I know what I want. So while I was a cop, I was painting cars on the side, building stuff. When I was at Halliburton, I was painting cars on the side, building stuff. So when I left all of that stuff and I was working at a body shop with Mike Ressa over here at Chapman's, and I was working with him. And what was crazy is because I was working in the body shop, helping him paint and stuff during the day to make money, because I could take care of the kids. I could leave when I needed to get them. I could drop them off at school, because I didn't have like I said, my family's not close. So I didn't have nobody to help babysit. My grandma and my grandpa were both dead. So I was out of luck. Those were the only two that I really had that could help me. So, and I'm still customizing stuff at night. So I started thinking about it. I was like, wait a minute. If I'm working with Mike during the day and I'm customizing at night and on weekends, I said, why don't I just open up a custom shop and just do this? So, like, you know, that was what the whole deal is. Like you said, how did I know? I said, I didn't know. And really, I should have noticed that I should be doing, and I try to tell that now when I go speak at the schools and stuff, is I try to tell people now, find something that you love as a hobby.
Yeah.
Whatever you think is a hobby, figure out how to do that in life.
Yeah.
And you'll never work
another day. Everybody says that all the time, and you'll hear it all the time. They'll be like, find something that you love doing, and you'll never have to work, because you don't. Like, I play every day. We play with all these cars. I mean, we're just having fun.
Yeah.
But we're not tired. Like, it's like, oh, okay, well, I got to work Saturday and Sunday. Okay, cool. You know, we work Saturday and Sunday. It's not like we're like
Yeah, like you were saying,
Just
whenever
bored.
you were a little kid and you were playing with the sound system and the truck,
I'm playing
you're still
still.
a little kid, but you're growing up and
Exactly,
you love what you do. Yeah,
exactly.
that's
So
awesome.
like now I hang out with a lot of pros. I used to skate, and I have a bad knee, so I don't really get to skate as much. But I grew up following people like Christian Hosoi, Steve Caballero, and all these old pro skaters, right? Well, I'm friends with these guys now. Like Christian invited me to his 50th birthday party, and I'm sitting in there, and Tony Hawk's in there, and all these dudes are like hanging out, and it's a private invite, you know. And I'm getting to hang out with these dudes, and I'm watching them, and they're all still skating, and they're having fun. And I started thinking more, and I was like, dude, that's why these dudes are so successful, is because they're playing.
Yeah.
All these dudes are still playing. They're not
working.
They're working, but they're not working. Any actors you look at,
it doesn't feel like it's work.
Yeah,
It's
you know, even if you take into perspective, like you guys are musicians, and you take the other musicians that are really successful, those dudes ain't working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know what I mean? They figured out they busted their ass. They put in the time to get to where they needed to get. They practiced. They did that. They did the shows for free. They did whatever they had to do. And then now that they've got it, now they're playing every day.
Yeah,
but they're making money.
Now that's a very important point that I wanna kind of emphasize on. A lot of people are wanting to start something like that, but nobody really knows how. A lot of people say I need this, or I'm missing time, or I have a family, so I don't have the time. And a lot of people say I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have resources, I have too much of this, too much of that. What is one way to get started from leaving those excuses?
Those are all excuses.
Yeah,
that's it. You got to just do it. I mean, you got to just do it.
And
you got to.
You were saying you
got to try it.
You didn't have the money. You didn't have any of that stuff. But what I did notice is you said you had the time. You had the time to be able to kind of pursue these things slowly. Because I feel like, you know, for us, we don't have the money to invest in a lot of things, so we have to put in the time. You had to learn, right? You had to learn all these things, and through time, that became a way to make that money.
Yeah. So when we opened up the shop, and this will start all the way back to the name. So we're at Mike's shop, and I'm thinking, okay, I want to do. You know what? I'm just going to open a shop. I'm going to open up a custom shop. And we're at Mike's, and we're, true story, we're watching TV because he's got a TV in the office, and we're watching stuff like Pimp My Ride and Unique Whips or one of those shows. And I told Mike, I said, you know what, I'm gonna open a shop, and one of these days I'm gonna be on a TV show. I said, I'm gonna do some stuff like for celebrities like that. And all these dudes in there are like, man, you're stupid, you're dumb, you know, this motherfucker's crazy. Like, that's all everybody was going off on me.
Yeah.
And I said, what's another name for crazy? And they were like, oh, insane. I said, no. I said, there's like a clinical name. I said, come. And so everybody's thinking, and Mike's nephew, Robert, he's like, Demented. I said, dude, from now on, I'm Demented Customs. And I shit you not, the next day I went down here to the I Got It place, whatever. I had them do me some business cards, and they were Demented Customs. And they had Mike's address, and I told Mike, I said, I'm going to work at night. I'm going to have my little shop right here, and I'll pay you rent or whatever. And so I was working out of Mike's. And then I ended up moving to another building. But that's how it started. You know, I started that way. And when I moved to the other building, I had a motorcycle to build for a guy. My ex had left. She had messed up all my credit. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any bank loans. I didn't have nothing. And then, you know, we were rock bottom. Me and the kids had moved in back with my grandma because she was still alive. We were living with her at the apartments. I'm like, man, I'm back in number B29, and I'm 30-something years old, you know, with my 3 sons. Living with my grandma because we didn't have any money, and we opened up this building because we had a motorcycle to do for a guy, and I was getting $5,000 off the labor, and he was buying all the parts. And I was like, all right, cool, I got $5,000, and I said, okay, I got enough that I can pay some stuff for like 2 months. I said, but I got 2 months to hustle more work. I said, so a lot of people, they try to look long term. And I used to do that too. Like, it'll stress you out. You'll be sick. You'll be like, man, this ain't going to work. I ain't got no money coming in. But if you learn it, as I learned over time, I was like, all I got to do is make it 30 days. I said, I make it 30 days, I'm good. Because I pay my truck, I pay my house or wherever I'm living, I pay all my utilities, and I make sure I have food for 30 days, I'm good. Because I'm going to have to pay that again anyways, regardless. Yeah. Like, you know, it doesn't ever change. Every 30 days, you have to pay your truck payment. So I'm like, shit, why? I ain't trying to make it a year out. I just got to make it 30 days at a time. So every 30 days, I'm good. So I know that at the end of the month, I'm like, okay, I got a week left, and I need $1,500. Yeah. Okay, I got to figure out how to get that $1,500. So if I made a deal with somebody or be like, hey, you know what? I told you I was paint that car for $3,000, dude. I'll do it for $1,500. because I'm going to lose some labor, I'm going to lose some profit, but I'm going to pay my bill.
Yeah.
And then I can keep going, and I can keep going. And so we did that. We did that. And then, you know, when we did, what happened is we ended up going to the show called SEMA in Las Vegas. It's a big trade show. And everybody from the world goes there. So it's the biggest car show in the world. And you go there, you're not winning trophies, you're not doing anything. It's a specialty equipment marketing association. So what they're doing is they're showing new products for next year. I'd always read about it, I'd seen about it, and so I was like, dude, I want to go to SEMA. And so we find this dude out of Phoenix through some other friends, and he's got a truck to build. I said, man, I'll do the labor for free, you just send me all the parts, I want to go to SEMA. He's like, all right, cool. So we build this truck, we go to SEMA, we get in the magazines, they take me around, and they're introducing me to a friend of mine's friends with West Coast Customs, and so we're over there looking at their stuff. And when I see their stuff, I'm like, man, it really isn't. These dudes really ain't that bad, you know? Like, I thought these dudes were going to be, like, really, really good. I said, man, I can get in with these guys. So when we come back here, that's when I went on my mission. That's when I went to try and find how I'm going to get in with celebrities and stuff. And so what I did is I get on the internet. I start looking at the UFC and stuff. That's when it was first starting back in 06 and 07-ish, you know, and 08. So I ended up using MySpace back then because it's way back again. Message Keith Jardine, Diego Sanchez. First I hit Diego up because I thought, you know, okay, well, he's Mexicano, maybe we can hook up with that dude. Yeah. But like his agents really controlled a lot of stuff. They didn't want to do anything, and he had like a Geo tracker or something. And I was like, man, I don't want to mess with no Geo. So I hit up Keith Jardine. Keith had a Bronco. So I told Keith, I was like, dude, let's do something. He's like, well, how much? It's no money, dude. I said, I'll do it for free. I can get parts based off your name. Just let me use your name. And we did Keith's, we did Rashad's, same way. And then UFC Fan Expo was coming up in like the summer of 09. And we went back to SEMA in 08. We go to SEMA every year. Every year in November, we're in Vegas for a week. 08, 09, or we're 09, summer of 09, UFC 100's coming up, and it's a big deal. They're going to have this big trade show. They're kind of like SEMA and stuff. And I was like, dude, we got to go to UFC 100. I said, we're gonna buy a booth. So I got some money from some different people that we're building cars for, borrowed some here, borrowed some there, spent $25,000 on a fucking booth in Vegas, which, dude, $25,000 buys you a square of concrete. No carpet, no nothing. You still have to put that stuff. I was like, man, like, and here's a dude from the Hobbs Apartments, you know, I've never spent that kind of money on stuff. So we're going over there. We're taking Keith's Bronco, and we're taking Rashad Evans' Lexus that we built. And they're going to come to the booth. They're going to sign autographs. They're going to do a bunch of stuff. Well, everybody here said, dude, you're dumb. You're crazy. You're crazy. What are you doing? Why are you wasting your time going over there? Don't nobody going to want to go see your cars? Because there was no other cars. Like, it wasn't a car show, you know? It was a fan expo for the fighters and all the gear and stuff. And I said, dude, I ain't going for the fans. I had already told Keith, I said, dude, I want to meet Dana White and I want to meet Tap Out. I said, I've got some ideas. I've got some bigger ideas. Because I've always been a dreamer, dude. Like, I've always been a dreamer. And the one thing I can tell everybody, and especially the people listening, if you come from a place like Hobbs, if you come from nothing like us, if you come, you know, from welfare, from low income, you ain't got nothing to lose. Like, really, what do you got to lose? Yeah. Like, anything you do, or any chance you take, any risks you take, it can't get any worse than where you're at right now.
Right.
You know, like if you live on frijoles and tortillas and, you know, weenies and bologna or whatever, if you're eating it now, you're going to eat it tomorrow. So if you take this risk, even if it doesn't work, you're still going to eat the same stuff you're eating now.
Yeah.
But if it does, then you're sitting in Vegas eating a $500 steak. You know, I mean, you have nothing to lose. Yeah. So I wanted to meet Scrape. I wanted to meet Tap Out, and I wanted to meet UFC. I wanted to meet Dana. So we go, we do this thing. We have this big unveil. We meet a few people that, you know, some other fighters and some other stuff. But we meet Tap Out. We don't get to meet Dana. Dana never came by. Couldn't make it happen, whatever. But I did meet Tap Out. So we leave there. We come back home. Well, then Scrape from Tap Out hits me up like in August and says, hey, dude, I want to do some stuff to my Suburban. I got like $10,000. I'm going to send it to you. And just do it black and do some wheels and do a motor and this and that. I was like, man, all right, cool. So we go get it. We start looking at it. We start talking some more. And I said, dude, let's take this thing to SEMA. Have you ever been to SEMA? He says, no, I ain't never been to SEMA. I said, dude, we're going to SEMA. We're going to SEMA in November. And he's like, man, well, I really don't want to put a lot of money in. I said, no, don't worry about the money. I said, I'll get the rest of the stuff off your name. I said, just pay me that $10,000. We'll go. So we build him the Suburban. We go to SEMA. He'd never been to SEMA. We're at SEMA. Now I'm walking around. I'm not just James Torres anymore from, Hobbs. Now I'm walking around with one of the guys from Tap Out, and everybody's like, wow, nice, check out this dude. Nice. So Scrape's like, dude, I like SEMA. This is bad, and I like this stuff. And he's like, man, what else can we do? I said, what do you want to do? He says, dude, let's. I want to build another car for next year. I said, dude, let's go get parts. So we would start walking around, and I had already started learning how to talk to sponsors and do proposals. And we go by General Motors, and he's like, hey, I want that motor. I said, who do we got to go talk to? I go over, I find, the president of General Motors of the GMPP, which is the performance parts. Dr. Meyer comes over, and he's talking to us, and they recognize Scrape. Everybody knows Tap Out, Oh, well, this and that. I said, yeah, we're going to build these cars, and we're going to build a car for next year. And they're like, all right, well, do a proposal, get with me, and this and that. We leave. And everybody tells me when we leave, we're talking to some different people. They're like, dude, you ain't getting no motors from GM. Like, that's going to be hard. You ain't getting no motors from GM. So, all right. So I call, I email, do this. I got 2 engines from GM. I built 2 cars for them instead of 1. Wow. And so then that's in 2010. So, like, everything's kind of transpired, and it's all gone back to SEMA. Like, everything just kind of, like, works its way around. So we go to SEMA 2010, and there we are. I'm with Scrape now. I'm with Tap Out, and we're doing this big private unveil with the GM executives at the Wynn Casino, and we're unveiling 2 cars that me and my kids and a couple other dudes from Hobbs helped us build. Awesome. And I'm like, dude, now we're here. Like, so then we're meeting more people. We're meeting Flex Wheeler, which is one of the guys that we did the car for that was actually in Fast 7, but it all transpires to the beginning. So if you don't ever try something, you're never going to know what's going to have in the end. Yeah. And so and the other deal is not listening to people. So if I listen to the people that told me, well, why are you wasting your time going to UFC 100? It doesn't have nothing to do with you. If I'd listened to them, then I wouldn't be where I'm at. Oh, yeah. If I'd listened to the people back at Mike's shop, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So, everything has a reason, And so we did the stuff with Scrape. Then we ended up meeting Goldberg. We did some stuff with Goldberg that year, or towards the end of the year, starting into 2011. And then we're on Twitter one time, me, Goldberg, Scrape. Everybody's like tweeting back and forth, and I'm getting tagged. So I feel pretty cool, because I'm like inside that circle. Yeah. And Strahan ends up in there, Michael Strahan. And so, I message Mike, and then, I start sending him some DMs all within a couple days. And then he's like, sends me his cell phone number, and he's like, hey, dude, what do you want to do? And I was like, you know what? I said, dude, let me build a car for you. And he's like, well, how much? I said, give me $30,000 audition. I said, if I do good, you only out 30 G's. So if I do bad, you only out 30 G's. I said, but you'll get a car, I said, so, just give me a chance. He's like, all right. He says, how do I get you the money? And I was like, dude, I said, usually, the guys from LA that I deal with, they usually just put it in my bank account. I can give you the Wells Fargo number. Next day, never asked me for a contract, no paperwork, no nothing. He went to the bank. He put $30,000 in my account. Jesus Christ. He said, show me what you got. Nice. Show me what you got. And it was because I asked him. But
what people don't understand is all the process it took for you to get there, right? Because a lot of people are going to say, oh, that's $30,000. If I got $30,000, I could do a lot of things. But I guess what they don't see is
the steps.
They
don't see the steps. Yeah, you don't see the steps. You don't see the time that goes into it, and then the reasoning behind it. And a lot of people, they sit there and they think, okay, well, he got $30,000, he built the car. Well, when we started looking at the car, I was like, man, this dude knows everybody. Because I didn't know know who he was. I don't even watch football. That's the funny part, you know? Like, I had to have a friend, like, go with me so that, because we were going to have dinner with him. I'm like, dude, you know who Michael Strahan is? Like, yeah. So, dude, let's go to L.A. because, like, I don't know this dude at all. And so, like, you know, we meet him, and this and that, we come back. Whereas I'm sitting here, I'm like, dude, like, this dude knows everybody. So I told Stray, I was like, dude, like, you really know all these people? He says, yeah. I was all right. So we ended up building his car worth more than $30,000. Like, we put more motor in it. We started getting a bunch of stuff, and we put all that in there. And so then when we took him the car, we said, here's your keys. Here's the title. He's like, how much more are you? So you don't owe me nothing, dude. I said, our deal was 30 in an audition. And ever since then, we've been friends. So, like, when we got this show with the NFL Network, everybody thinks, because Strahan's our executive producer, everybody thinks that Strahan got us the show. Well, Strahan didn't get us the show. We got the show because we're friends with Strahan. So whenever we got this call to audition, was through some other stuff, because what had happened was, all of this stuff, if we go backwards, all of this stuff kind of like connects. Like I said, everything happens for a reason in life. And you really don't notice it unless you start to pay attention.
Right.
So we do the thing in 09 with Scrape, with Tap Out. We do his truck in 09. And like I said, everybody all the time has always said, why don't you charge these people? Why don't you charge these people? And I was like, dude, because I'm trying something. I need their name right now. I'm not at that point. There's something bigger coming. I just don't know what it is. I got to keep going. And dude, there was times we were broke. There's times that we were just like, man, we're gonna quit. Like, there's times that I thought, man, I'm done. And then I think, wait a minute, you know, well, I've already put all these years in. I'm gonna go another 6 months. Let me figure out another 6 months. Let's see what happens after this SEMA, and then we'll figure out if we want to shut down or not.
So, James, we're going to go to a quick commercial break really quick, and we're going to talk a little bit when we come back about, I guess, the issues you found out, the brick walls you hit whenever you just thought you were about to make it, but then all of a sudden, I don't know, something happened where you said you got discouraged or you were broke or there was not hope in you. We're going to talk a little bit about those key points. So we're going to be right back. Thank you for listening to Ricas Pláticas.
Club La Sierra los invita a que no se pierdan noches de karaoke todos los jueves y todos los grandes eventos que solamente La Sierra Event Center les trae. Sigan escuchando Ricas Pláticas.
So we're back to Ricas Pláticas. Thank you for listening to the advertisement. We want to hear about your struggles, James, about the things that made you doubt, made you want to quit maybe along your journey. What was some of the things that made you that hit a brick wall really hard?
Yeah, you know, along the way, I mean, there was several different, you know, times. I mean, and it hits all the time when you needed money or you got bills and stuff. You know, we had a couple of big name celebrities that I won't say their name, but that burned us. You know, that we didn't actually approach them; they approached us, and offered us the world. And you know, in certain instances, on one of the builds we were doing for them, promised us TV show time, promised us a bunch of stuff. We ended up investing about 5 months in the build, and we didn't get anything out of it. No TV show, no nothing. You know, heck, we didn't even get the gas money from going back and forth to San Diego to pick up the rides. And
so it's someone in San Diego, just
and so you know, but one thing we learned to do when times are tough, and I'll share this with everybody, is it took me a little bit to start to teach myself to do it, but you got to find the good parts in everything. There's everything's going to happen for a reason, and like I said, you know, with the religious and God puts people in certain places, and you got to figure out why that's there, you know, and even if it doesn't come out, you think, oh well, you know, this was supposed to happen and it didn't happen, but you got to figure out what you learned off of that and like what did come about. So, for instance, when we were working with that guy, even though we didn't get all the stuff he promised us, we'd met Michael Strahan. And Michael Strahan ended up becoming a good friend and confidant, and you know, he's an advisor to me, and like we're really good friends. Like I can text him whenever, and the guy's just really cool. So I was like, you know what? Okay, I didn't get this, but I got something better. I got this really cool friend. So you know, you learn to find the good things in all of them, because there's always going to be something bad.
Oh yeah.
But inside it, if
there's also good.
There's good, and if you learn to just look at the good stuff and ignore the bad part, then it's not as rough on you and it's not as hurtful.
I think that whenever you're trying something, you have to struggle, because failing is a part of what makes you who you are. Like Jesse was saying, it's something that molds you and makes you the person you are. And I think that if we were to see maybe just the good in every situation, I think that seeing the bad or feeling like it's bad is actually pretty good, because I guess it makes you feel like you just kind of, like I was telling Jesse, we have a lot of, criticism and all that, but that kind of gives me fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always about the haters. I mean, you're always going to have people that are going to hate on you. And like we always have. And we use it 100%, especially the people that say, oh, these guys, they're talking all that. They ain't never going to get it. And then when we get it, we're like, now what? Like where you at? Whenever we were talking about getting a TV show a long time ago, and then everybody's like, oh, yeah, whatever. They ain't going to get on a TV show. And, and in 2014, we're on Overhauling, which is one of the biggest car shows ever. We're working with Chip Foose, which is like a legendary guy. Wow. And, people stand in line for hours to get an autograph from him. And we're right next to him like, hey, Chip, how do you do this? Oh, he's like, oh, hey, check this out. And I'm like, okay, and we're working with him. And we did 3 episodes with that dude. Yeah. And the funny thing with that, even leading into that, is, like I said, everything happens for a reason. So the reason we were on Overhauling was because a friend of mine, Steve DeMann, ended up being on the show as the painter, and he was like, hey, dude, we need a couple people. You guys want to come? And I'm like, yeah, we'll be down there. So he calls me, and we ended up, me and my son jumped in the truck. We shut my shop down for a week. We drove over there, and we worked on a build, and we came back, and then a couple months went by. They called us to say, hey, we're going to film again. You guys want to do another one? Like, yeah. We drove back. They paid us over there, and we did it. They didn't pay us to stay there because they could get people from LA, but they paid us to work. So we stayed at Strahan's house in Bel Air. So we were staying in a $20 million house. Well,
poor you.
Yeah, we weren't hurting too bad, But the reason we met Steve DeMann, and this is all funny because the reason we met Steve DeMann in 14 is we met Steve in like 2012. We're in SEMA again. We're talking, and he sees my shirt, and he's like, Demented. And I was looking at a car he did, and I was like, man, that's a badass car. He said, Demented. He goes, that name is familiar. He goes, what have you done? I said, oh, I've done this, and this, and this. And it's funny because like I'm in Vegas, and there's thousands of people there, and for him to like
just
pick me out, and then he's like, man, that name sounds familiar. I said, we did this for GM. We did a Suburban for Tap Out. He says, Tap Out. He says, dude, were you in the booth at GH Wheels in 2009? And I was like, yeah. He says, I did the wheels that were on the wall, and Dwayne burned me. And I was like, dude, Dwayne burned me on the truck. And so we started talking. We became friends because of 2009 when I did the stuff for Scrape. So then we're talking, and Steve's like, oh yeah, here's my number. So we became friends. So like we start 2012 we're hanging out, 2013 we're hanging out. He's like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this and that. And we're always checking up on each other. Well, 2014 he was friends with Chip, and then he ended up getting on the show. And so that's what happened is he was on the show. We were in Vegas. He's like, oh yeah, I'm on the show. I'm like, dude, that's cool, congrats and this and that. And then when we come home from Vegas, the 1st of November, we come home the week of Thanksgiving. He calls me and he's like, hey, dude, I know you and your sons are always doing stuff. You guys want to come help? I'm like, dude, yeah, heck yeah, we do. Like, that's a crazy question. And he's like, yeah, okay, well, I'll call you back. I'm going to let you know when we start filming. He calls me back on Friday. He says, you got to be here Monday because we're going to film. We're going to start filming Monday. We're going to build the car for Johnny Depp. Oh. And I was like, you know what, dude? I said, hell yeah, I'll be there. I shut my shop down. It was Friday. We shut the shop down. Sunday morning, we were in the truck. We drove. We'd already been driving back and forth to LA anyways for other stuff. So we drove up there. We stayed with Stray, Strahan's house. He's back and forth to New York. And we filmed and everything, and then we came back. But while we're there, like all these companies are coming in, Magnaflow, all these dudes are like, hey, I know you, those guys from Demented. Like, yeah. And everybody knew us because of all the other stuff. But we had made that happen. Because we tried. And so like that's why I say if you don't try, you're never gonna know. And you can't just take things for granted. You can't say, you know what, I ain't gonna waste my time because this ain't gonna make no big difference. If I hadn't have taken Scrape's car, I didn't have to take his car to SEMA. I didn't have to do any of that for free. But because I did, that introduced me to that connected the Steve DeMann deal all together.
It was a domino.
It made everything work. And so when I'm on the show with Steve, you know, they're like, okay, well, cool. So now we're on Overhauling. We do the 3 episodes of Overhauling. We come back home. And so then we're talking, and another guy from El Paso, he gets a call from a production company, and they're like, hey, we're looking for a shop that's Mexicanos that does cars. And then so they call me, and it's a different production company that we work with now. They call me, and they're like, hey, we got your name from this guy. He says you were on Overhaul. And we're like, yeah. So we give them all the info. They're like, oh, okay, we want to do some stuff. And I'm like, all right. So they send me this contract. So I send this contract off to Strahan, and like I said, this is it all links, so I have to kind of tell it in a certain way. Yeah. So, you know, we send this contract off to Strahan. Strahan reads it, and then he's like, okay. I said, well, they want me to sign it. And he says, yeah. He says, just tell him Josh Pyatt's going to call him tomorrow. I'm like, okay. So I call these guys back. I say, hey, Josh Pyatt will call you tomorrow. Their president calls. He's like, who the heck are you? I said, I'm fucking James Torres from Hobbs, you know? And he's like, dude, he says, you don't get Josh Pyatt overnight. He says, Josh Pyatt doesn't deal with nobody. So who you work? I said, dude, I don't work with nobody. And he's like, Josh Pyatt is one of the biggest entertainment attorneys in LA. He doesn't handle no little people. And I said, look, dude, I sent it to Strahan. Strahan sent it to Josh. I said, all I got to tell you is Josh Pyatt call you. So I called Stray back. I said, dude, I can't afford Josh, homie, because Josh was representing me. Yeah. And Stray's like, dude, he says, I pay Josh enough to take care of me. He says, you're my friend. Josh takes care of you. I'm like, all right, cool. So that's how we ended up getting our job with the NFL Network in left field. Is we didn't do anything with this other production company. They were real culeros. They were just ugly. Like they wouldn't let us talk. They didn't want us being us. Like they were just like, you couldn't work with them. Like even trying to do Skype interviews, like they were just real ugly. And this is the part where I say everything happens for a reason. We were so excited that we were looking at by a production company, but when they were ugly, it's like, man, I really don't work with these dudes. And they were like, oh yeah, well, you know, that company didn't want y'all, and y'all aren't any good for TV. We're like, all right, cool, no problem, whatever. And so I told Josh, I said, hey, get us out of that contract. I want to start hustling on my own. I'm gonna find another company. I'm gonna go to work. If these dudes showed interest in me and we were on Overhauling, I can make something happen. So I told Josh, and then Josh calls me back. It's like a week later. He said, hey, I got some people who want to talk to you. I'm like, all right. So these dudes from Left Field called me. Well, what happened was Left Field Productions was talked to the NFL Network, and they wanted to get back in with them. Well, NFL Network says we're trying to do a car show. Want to do a car show with football players, whatever. And Left Field, they tell Left Field, you know what, you guys want in? Go ahead. Well, they'll do this casting call. So anytime a company wants to do something, they have this TV show idea, they'll put out a casting call. They put out the casting call, and all these production companies will throw their stuff in the hat. They throw their ideas in. They say, well, we got this idea and we got this talent. So they'll hire a certain talent and they market us to them. So Left Field Production calls us, talks to us. And the reason Left Field got our name is because Left Field works with Josh Pyatt. So Left Field's like, hey, Josh. They call Josh up. They're like, hey, dude, you got a shop? You got any football players that are associated with cars? He's like, yeah. He goes, how about Michael Strahan associated with the shop in Hobbs, New Mexico? They're like, where's Hobbs, New Mexico? He's like, in the middle of freaking nowhere, you know?
Where's New Mexico?
Yeah, you know? And so they're like, do we want to talk to him? So then when they talk to us, they're like, oh, you're father and sons, you're Mexicano, you're from the middle of nowhere. Like, dude, okay, well, we want to do something with you. So like all of our audition, all our sizzle reel, we filmed with my phone. Literally, I had to take my phone. They'd say, film JR grinding something or welding. I'd film JR. They'd film CJ. I'd film CJ doing body. Film Paul have them film you doing this. Have them film you saying, you know, we need you talking about football and this and that. So we filmed everything from my phone, and I would send them the video, and they put together a sizzle reel, and that was our audition. That was what they were sending to NFL Network. Well, we ended up beating out 11 other auditions, 11 other shops, 11 people when we got the job. And so when we got the job, we said we had to stay here. Like, that was the deal, is we had to show people that we could do it.
That it could be done here.
That it can be done. And when we got it, then I said, that's why we were doing all this stuff for free. Because when I went to talk to these guys, they were like, man, who do you know? And I was like, I know this dude, this dude, this dude, this dude, this dude. And they're like, dude, this dude knows from dudes from Fast and Furious. This guy knows these guys. And then not only knows them, like I can text them, I can call them. Yeah. They've got my Diminished shirts on. And they're like, dude, you're from nowhere, you know? And I said, and that doesn't define a person. It makes it easier. Like I tell everybody, it makes it so much easier. If you come from stuff and you have all this money, it's really hard for you to take a chance because you don't know what it's like to be without.
Yeah. Okay.
But anybody that knows what it's like to be without, I'm telling you, like I grew up on Gypsy Street. I mean, I know what it's like to check the cereal to see if there's any cucarachas in there. I know. I mean, it sucks, you know.
Tasty with sugar.
You know, I hate it. I hate it. You know, and it was life. And what it does is it hardens us. Any time we fail, anytime we don't succeed at something, it doesn't make it. Some people like to quit, but it doesn't. It just makes you work harder.
Yeah.
But it's also a sense of accomplishment because when you get to a certain point, you know that if you fall down, you're like, man, I've already been over here. I know what it's going to take to do that again.
Oh, yeah.
So I can do it. So like say you go to the gym and you're working out and, you know, you look at it and you're like, man, I can't do 2 plates. You know, that's heavy. And then you do 2 plates 1 or 2 times. And you're like, really, it wasn't that bad. Then you're doing it 5 times. Then you're putting 3 plates on. But the whole deal is doing the 2 plates the first time. If you don't ever put the 2 plates on, you ain't never going to know what it's like.
Yeah.
So if you don't ever take a risk, you don't ever know if you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And you may not make it the first time, and I promise a lot of people won't. It took us 10 years to do that, you know? And this last year, or 2017, we're at SEMA, and the first SEMA we'd gone to when we were looking at Matt Hughes and all them, I told my sons, I said, one of these days, we're going to be signing autographs. One of these days, we're going to be the ones sitting over there. We just got to figure out how to do it. 10 years later, 2017 SEMA, we're sitting down and people are paying us to sign autographs. We're getting paid $1,500 for an hour, you know, $2,000 for an hour. You know, we're getting to go eat dinner with people and they're like, hey, get whatever you want. And my kids are ordering $500 steaks. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, we come back here and we're still getting bologna and eggs with chorizo and everything else because we ain't spending that kind of money. But
that's how us musicians are. When we're on stage, you know, we have little shining vest on and we look really nice with our hats on. But
we got the disguise.
we get off and we go to the van and start eating chimichangas.
Hey, yeah, exactly.
If we even get
also burritos.
I think a lot of people don't miss out the point that you were pointing out, that a lot of people just want something very quick. You know, they say, I started this. I have a lot of people that message me, hey, how do you become so good at photography? Can I start something like that? Yeah, you know, I tell them, you know, here's this link, check out this YouTube video. And then a week passes, they're like, I haven't gotten any bookings yet. What am I doing wrong? I can't get any clients. I'm like, that was 2 weeks ago, man. You got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, it took you 10 years, you know, I guess, to get to a very good place in your journey, right?
Yeah. Because now, you know, like through the show, we got a lot more exposure. We got bigger jobs. And now, you know, everybody that we're not doing stuff for free anymore. You know, now we're getting paid. But we had to sacrifice. We had to sacrifice in the beginning. And then even like when I was doing stuff with Tony, I was doing all that stuff for free. I was working with him for free because I wanted to achieve a goal. So I had to put in the work. I mean, you know, if we say going back to the gym, which is a really good reference, even though I don't like going to the gym, but when you go to the gym, if you want to get bigger, if you want to lose weight, you got to diet. You got to put in the work. You got to sacrifice. So it's with anything in life. If you want to achieve goals, you have to be willing to sacrifice something.
We wanted to go into something, James, that I think that touches into everything, and that's what is your not your religion, but what are your beliefs that make you the person that you are, and who put you in those beliefs? Who was the person that told you this is what you need to believe in, and this is what's going to make you a better person?
Yeah, you know, I'm Catholic. My grandparents were Catholic. That was the cool thing about growing up with my grandparents is you know, they went to church more than actually the priest went to church. You know? They were at the Otreas. They were everywhere, you know. I mean, it was like we were at church Sunday, Monday, Wednesday for, you know, CCD, and then Thursday for the Otrea, and then Friday. And then if it was Easter like it is now or Christmas time, we were there even more.
Yeah, like it was done.
It's like, yeah, might as well just stay here. You know, I was like, man, I'm at church.
Camp out.
Just hang out over there. So we were always at the church, you know. But My deal is just a lot of faith in God, and then just being a Christian in general. I know a lot of people that are different religions and stuff, and I don't look down on anybody else's religion. To each his own. Everybody has their way of believing. My deals that I've learned over time and that I've learned from a lot of these people like Michael Strahan. I'm friends with the guys from Avenged Sevenfold and a lot of other really, really big name celebrities. But one thing that I learned from those guys that are really successful, is being kind to people. Mm-hmm. Like, they're all really kind to people. And you guys know as well as I do, you'll see other musicians that are really kind and respectful to people all the time. Yeah. And those are the guys that always seem to be doing the best. Those are the guys that always get the blessings. Yeah. And my deal is just trying to help other people. I'm doing this. I'm not doing this to be rich. I'm doing this to give back. So like if I can teach somebody, if I can inspire somebody, I'd love to have enough money to go down to the boys club and pick up all the kids, during Christmas time and go shopping, because when I grew up, I didn't have Christmas presents. I didn't have toys. Like, I literally had, if you ever watch Snoopy and you see that little bitty Christmas tree, like, we had that, and all my grandma would give me was socks and chones, and that was it. That's all I ever got from her. I didn't get the fancy stuff. And my deal is to be able to give kids that, to be able to give people that, and if I can help them, I'd love to be able to put on a big banquet for Thanksgiving one year. Rent a building and just tell everybody, you know what, everybody can come eat. Doesn't matter what church you're from, doesn't matter where you're at, who you are, if you're homeless, come and eat. So like we try to do that, and by being Christian, just in general, that's kind of like our faith, is to take care of those who can't take care of themselves, and just to be kind to people. I mean, our nation right now is at a mess, dude. Like, it's so torn up. Mm-hmm. It's so divided. You've got everybody against everybody, and
what do you think is the reason for all that?
It's the politicians, in my opinion. Okay. It's the politicians, and they strive off of it. I mean, they don't want us to be all friends. They don't want us. They want all the Mexicanos mad at Trump, and they want all of the Volios mad at the Mexicanos and everybody else. And it's not. I mean, there's. I used to be a police officer. I've worked in the oil field. I've done all kinds of stuff. I've grown up in the hood, and I can tell you that racism exists on all levels. Mm-hmm. You've got Mexicanos that are just as racist as white people, and you've got white people that are racist, and you've got black people that are just as racist as everybody else. Yeah. So I mean, it's in everybody, and then you have good cops and you have bad cops. Yeah. But you can't judge everybody off of the actions of one, and so you got to just try. We got to try and overwhelm them. We got to try and overwhelm them with kindness. Like, we have to have more good, kind people, and all of us unite, opposed to relying on those guys to unite us, And so, like, that's what we're trying to do, is just...
I think that's all we can do, because as people, if we sit here and wait for the world to get better, it's just not, even in our family, or even if in our lifestyles, if you wait for something to happen, it's not really going to happen. Like, the one thing that I pointed out when you were saying that you're a Christian, one of the biggest values of being a Christian is to give. Is better than to receive.
It is.
And that is, I think, a recipe for greatness, because even the more you keep going, the more you want to give, and one of the things me and Jesse were talking about earlier is we send a lot of invitations to a lot of people to come to this podcast, and a lot of people are telling us, when it gets good, call us and let us know, and here we have James Torres. He has his own TV show, and he's here with us giving value, even though you're already making a lot of movements and a lot of great things, but the recipe for greatness, I think, is just to keep giving, and that's how you receive, right?
Yep.
The most, without even trying to receive.
And you'll be surprised. I mean, if you really pay attention, anytime you can give somebody $25. And if you just pay attention to that day or the next day, you'll get back 50. Yeah. Something will happen. Yeah. You'll end up getting money from somewhere, and you're like, oh wow, And if you think about it, and you don't do it intentionally, that's the whole deal. Is you just gotta do it, Yeah,
but don't do it with thinking that you're gonna receive
something. You just do it. You do it to help people, And then these people, that don't want to be on your show, well, they're waiting till it gets bigger. You know, come on, man. Like, you know what I mean?
Jesse was like when it gets bigger, we're not going to invite you.
When it gets bigger, we don't want you. You know what I mean? Like, that's the deal. And that's what I tell a lot of people. Like even with the production companies, like we're working on a new show. We're pitching a new show to Velocity, and we're trying to get a new TV show. And I've got some other projects that I'm putting together. But when I talk to them, I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, if they don't want to work, then let's call somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, if you're not going to do nothing with me now, and even like when we were building cars, and you know, we're calling sponsors, we're calling these people. We're like, hey, you want to help us on this car? No, you know. Well, when we got the TV show, these people were calling us. Like it was crazy. Like we're getting people that are like, hey, you want this or you want that? No, I'm good, because we already had the people we were working with.
Yeah.
And we told them, you know what? We have these other wheel car tire companies that were with us from the beginning. These are the dudes we're working with in the end.
Nice.
Like, these are the dudes that we stay loyal. You know, we stayed loyal to the ones that supported us from the very beginning. And trust me, I mean, there's a lot of people that made fun of me the whole time that, oh, you ain't never going to do this, and that would talk shit in the streets. And we hear it all the time. You're going to hear people always just talking, you know, about you or whatever. And we know who they are, you know, and we just left it alone. We leave it alone. You know, they'll walk up, they try to shake hands and everything, and it's like, okay, whatever. Dude, like why you want to be friends now? You know, just stay where you were at.
Yeah.
But the people that were always by us, the people that stood by us, those are the people that we'll take care of. You know, when we get big money,
even the people that backstab you at one point and then they want to come back.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure you've seen that,
dude. Yeah, I mean, you see that stuff all the time. You'll have people that'll be talking about you, and then the next day they'll be at the shop, and you'll have the friend, oh yeah, that dude was saying this over there at the other house, and you know, now he's over here hanging out with at you. And I was like, you know what, he's the one that just looks dumb. Like let him be himself. You know, if he wants to say stuff, my deal is, dude, is like, I don't compete with anybody. I don't compete with anybody here. I don't compete with any shops. I don't compete with anybody at all. I look at everybody's work. I say, hey, do a good job. You know, I mean, anybody that does it. I'm not perfect. You know, none of us are. You know, we're all human. We're not perfect. You know, we're always learning. I'm going to more schools now, trying to learn different things to build cars and different ways to build. Awesome. Anytime we're at SEMA, that's what me and my kids are doing. We're not walking around critiquing anybody. We're looking at the builds, trying to get ideas. How did he do this? How did he do that? What's working for this guy? Now, you know that we're in TV, we'll watch some TV shows here and there, and we're like looking at those guys. How can we make our show better? What can we do with our stuff? How can we act a little bit funnier, you know, or whatever, and make it more appealing? Why is that show doing so good? And we see those things, and so like we're critiquing ourselves, and you know, just a lot of constructive criticism and trying to learn. But
that's
I mean,
the word right there.
It's just. Yeah, it's a revolving thing, and when you think you know everything, you're done. You know, like Strahan and these guys, they're still growing, they're still learning, they're still trying new things. And one thing is, like, when we got our TV show, we had always said we were going to have it. When we got it, we weren't surprised that we got it, because we already seen that. We already foresaw that we were going to be doing that. Once we got it, we started doing it. We're like, what's next? Now I want to produce a TV show. Now I want to do this. Now I want to come up with some other ideas. Let's start filming some stuff for YouTube, and let's start doing our own stuff. So, you know, like, now we're thinking bigger.
Okay, so with that being said, we're going to go to a quick commercial, and then we're going to be talking about what's next. So what's next for Demented, and what's next for James Torres, and everything you just said right now, we want to hear about it. So this is going to be our last commercial, and then our last segment will come after this, and we're going to be talking about the future of James Torres. So stick with us. Thank you for listening to Ricas Pláticas.
Perdón por interrumpir esta rica plática, pero te quiero cantar una canción que dice así: Ironbound Auctions, Ironbound Auctions, Ironbound Auctions, Ironbound Auctions. Ironbound, esto es lo que dice. Ironbound Auctions, cántala conmigo. Ironbound Auctions, Ironbound Auctions. Ahí se va, compadrito.
Okay, so we're back to Ricas Pláticas. This is our last little segment here with James Torres, and we're going to be speaking about the future of James Torres, what's coming up, what we should expect to see from him and from Demented. So take it away, James.
Yeah, well, right now we're working. Unfortunately, we didn't get a third season with the NFL Network with Tackle My Ride. They're reformatting the network themselves, so we didn't get knocked out because of ratings. Like, our ratings were great. We were one of the highest rated shows. What it is they're changing to a full sports channel instead of like having a lifestyle show, which was what our show was. So NFL Originals is disbanded, so we're not, unless they decide to bring it back next year or something. But as of right now, we're not doing a third season.
We'll get on strike, make sure that happens.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we're talking with Velocity. We're talking with some other guys. I also wrote a script for a new show and a sports show, and me and Strahan are working on that. So we're trying to get that one out. Excuse me. And we're working on a couple big projects. We're fixing to do two projects with Hot Wheels. And we're going to be building two big cars, two real cars here to look like two Hot Wheels cars. And we're going to do an actual unveil with that. Nice. And then we got a bunch of NFL players we're doing cars for. So we're fixing to bring a lot of more attention to Hobbs and put them on the map.
You're also doing a lot of speaking, right? A lot of speaking at the schools and teaching a lot of kids.
Yeah. I go to speak at the schools. I do that for free. Anytime these guys want me. It's funny because like when I was in school, I didn't want to be there. I skipped all the time. And now I'm actually going back for free and staying there all day talking to the kids about staying in school, which is really kind of funny. But I let them know that I didn't stay. I wish I had. I wish I had applied myself back then. But if I had, things would be different.
Oh, yeah.
And I wouldn't be here doing this, what I'm doing. So everything happens for a reason, and like I said, I thank the Lord and I thank God, for putting me here and for allowing me to do this kind of stuff. We talking on the radio, doing podcasts here and there with stuff, signing autographs and doing appearances. Like it's a surreal feeling, when people are like, hey dude, how much you charge us to come sign autographs and take pictures, or be sitting in the restaurant and somebody be like, hey, you're that guy from Dominion Customs, and we're like, yeah, you take a picture with us, yeah, sure, and it's all, it's something that we achieved. It's something that we made happen.
Yeah. And
the cool thing is like anybody can do it.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I've got some new ideas. I want to do some more work with you guys, podcast wise. I'd love to, be a part of this with you guys and do some more, and just inspiring people to dream.
Doors are always open.
Just inspiring people to dream.
You actually were one of the inspirations for this podcast. When I was kind of struggling to get this going, I was like, man, I don't know. I'm doubting. It's just really hard for me. But when I saw you, it sparked. And I believe that a lot of kids in Hobbs could also look up to you. And what would you tell the kids in Hobbs, that are wanting to start working on their dreams?
Just do it. Just go out and get it. We have a philosophy, or we have a saying that's dream big, grind hard, success is inevitable. Mm-hmm. Don't ever stop dreaming. A lot of people tell you, oh, you need to grow up and you need to get a real job. Heck no. Stay a kid your whole life.
Yeah.
Stay a kid mentally. Be responsible as an adult. You have responsibilities. If you have kids, take care of your kids.
Yeah.
Don't just say, hey, I'm going to leave my kids. I'm going to go chase my dreams. No. You figure out how to take care of your kids and chase your dreams together.
Yeah. Because
it's possible. It's possible. And teach them.
Yeah.
Teach them. I wish my dad had been around, because he missed out on a lot. Like when I was raising my boys, like doing this stuff and building with my kids, I'm like, dude, this is really cool stuff. And like my dad missed out on some great things, And, so you got to be responsible, but you also got to stay a kid. And one of the things that I always say is you never know until you try. And so you guys are still young, and and like we're older, we're 40-something years old, but whenever you're a kid and everybody says, oh, well, we used to do a bunch of dumb stuff when you're a kid because we weren't scared. Or we were just dumb back then. It wasn't that you're dumb. It's just that you're not afraid to try things.
Yeah.
As you get older, people get to the point where they're like, I don't got to try anymore. Who cares? I work already. I got a job. I don't need to try anything new.
Or they're afraid of what
people they're just happy, or they're afraid of what people are going to say. But as kids, we always surround ourselves with. You have your friends, right? Okay. So let's say, for instance, you put up a ramp and everybody's on their bicycle and they're jumping that ramp. and you want to jump it, but you're kind of scared. What are your friends doing? Your friends are right there. They're like, come on, man, you can do it.
Yeah.
It ain't that scary. And you see them doing it, and you're like, man, and you jump it. You're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Then you're trying to jump further.
Yeah.
But you tried it. As adults, we don't have a lot of friends like that. You have friends that be like, hey, I'm going to do this. Whatever, dude. Let's go drink instead. You know, you're wasting your time. What are you doing over there? Why are you wasting your time practicing? You know what? Who cares? You ain't never going to make it. And people let that get in their head, and they do that. Whereas if you surround yourself with people that teach you, like Stray, all these guys that are successful, if you notice the people that they hang out with, they're not a bunch of losers or whatever. These dudes are all successful too. And they're all like, hey, you can do it. You can do this. Yeah. So like when I talk to Stray, like I'll tell him, hey, what do you think about this idea? And he'll be like, yeah, you know, this. Or he'll tell me, no, you know what? That shit sucks. That ain't going to work. Okay, cool. And he's honest with me.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm like, okay, cool, I'll try this.
That's very important.
And having people that'll tell you know what, dude, you got it, or change this up, or change that up. Like when we were talking at the beginning of the show, and I was telling you about with sponsors and stuff, you know, that kind of stuff. You get people that start brainstorming, and surround yourself with different people that are just crazy.
Yes.
And like those guys, they start thinking, and so like that's where we go all the way back. Before we finish, we got to talk about Demented. So one of the things about Demented, and like I said, is they always said I was crazy, and that's why I took it. Okay, well, Demented is a perception, because I learned this over time as it went by. Everybody always says, oh, that's a cool name, you know, Demented Customs. But I didn't understand what it really meant. And if you notice, like our shirts, they just say Demented. They don't say Demented Customs. The shop is Demented Customs. We're Demented. So what we wanted to do is, it's a perception. So when somebody looks at you, say your arm's broken, and a doctor looks at your arm, a doctor can x-ray your arm, and a doctor can say your arm's broken. But the Demented disease is the outside looking in. The doctor can do his test or whatever, say whatever, but there's no way for him to prove that I'm crazy. So people like Christopher Columbus, people like Michael Jordan, people like Albert Einstein, people like all these dudes from back in the day that people looked at and they were like, oh, that dude's crazy. But they were geniuses.
Yes.
Or they had this idea, like Michael Jordan was never supposed to play basketball. They told him, dude, you won't be no good basketball player. Look at him now. Oprah Winfrey, they told her she'd never be good in TV. You know, Tyler Perry. If you research all these stories, these guys were never supposed to succeed. So my deal is they're demented. So my perception, my idea for demented is, from the outside looking in, I want people to think I'm nuts. I want people to think that my vision, my ideas, my dreams are just so freaking crazy that I'm nuts. But in my head, I'm completely focused. If you take a guy that works out, and I always use working out as a reference, but you take a bodybuilder, and you say your friend that works out, and they eat certain meals at certain times, and they lift all the time, and they do this, and you're like, dude, what the hell? Why are you crazy? You know, why are you wait? But in their head, they know what they need to do. They're focused on that mission, and that's what it is putting in the work when other people won't. The kids swimming or whatever that you were talking about. You look at Olympic people that train for 4 years for one chance to win a gold medal. And these guys will diet. They'll be on a strict regimen to compete. And other people be like, dude, why do you do that all the time? You're already in shape. You don't have to do it every day. Take a break. But these people have a vision. They have a mission. They know what they're doing. So from the outside looking in, you want to be demented. You want to be so crazy that people think you're nuts. And that's where demented come from.
Awesome. So you got to surround yourself with winners. You got to be crazy. You got to be nuts about your perception, and you got to dream big. That is the powerful message we got from Mr. James Torres, and we hope to have you back, man. We're very happy. There's a lot of value you gave to myself, and pretty sure to Jesse as well.
Yes, of course. And we want to give you this shirt. This is our band. And the name, everybody keeps on asking us, how do you say the name? It's AC Norteña. And for everybody that wants to know what AC Norteña, what it means, okay, it's Artistas y Compositores con Integridad, and what it means in English, because pretty much it's going to be English.
Yeah.
The whole show, so English speaking people. It's artists and composers with integrity. If you're stealing people's names, if you can't even come up with your own name, you're already on the wrong path. So
you got to be original.
You got to be original.
So they're having a lot of problems with that name, but it's very easy actually. When you get hot, what you want to do? You want to turn the AC on, and you want to turn some AC Norteña on. You know, it's kind
to
of
get you
kinda,
hot.
yeah.
For the girls.
Yeah.
Make sure you
there
listen
go.
to this, girls.
Yes, sir. So,
I didn't say that to my wife. James said.
Last message.
Hey, it's
before
for the
we-
fans. It's all for the money. It's all for the money.
We're
Trust me.
actually
You
gonna
gotta,
give you a hat.
you gotta
as
have
well.
you gotta have them all for the money.
Give you another hat from La Senda Norteña, which is sponsoring this episode. Can you give us one of those hats, Jesse?
Yep.
We're gonna be giving James one since we still got some here. It's from La Senda Norteña, one of the hottest norteño bands right now in the Mexican culture. So James Torres, a last message before we let go of everyone.
You know, everybody, continue to listen to Ricas Platicas. These guys are going somewhere. These guys are really good. Just keep dreaming. I just want everybody to keep dreaming. And if I can help anybody, come by the shop. You know,
What's your number and address?
yeah, you know,
want to reach you.
Yeah, Demented Customs, 313 West White Street, Hobbs, New Mexico, of course. You can reach me at james@dementedcustoms.com if you want to email me. My cell phone number is 575-441-6848. It's still the same number. It's the same number I had before. It's the same number I have now. Won't be changing it anytime soon. And, not necessarily even for work. If anybody just needs somebody to talk to, if anybody has a dream or an idea, come by my shop. My door's open. Me and my kids will talk to you. We'll kind of point you in the right direction. If we can help you, if you guys want to learn something, we'll try and teach them. But we grew up here, and we won't forget where we came from. And our deal is just to try and inspire and help as many people as we can. Whether you're Mexicano, whether you're black, you're white, you're Asian, whatever. We love everybody. And just come by and say hello and hang out.
Awesome. So thank you everyone for listening. This was very, very important for us. This is our 5th episode already. It's kind of going by really fast. We're very excited, and so let us know any questions you have, any guests you would like to bring for us to bring here, any questions you have, please let us know and we will gladly answer that for you.
One thing that we should say, Ricardo, is for all the people watching, this is strictly our opinions. And if you have something that you want to say about our opinions, feel free to contact us. Put it on the messages there on Ricas Platicas. It's going to be down there on Facebook or whatever else it's on. And if you want to come on the show and you feel like you can give a good opinion and something good that has something to value.
Yeah, values for people, advices, anything, advice. A talent that you have.
And
positive
we've
messages.
been having a lot of people that have been telling us that this and that, we shouldn't say this and that. Well, we want to invite you people that if you want to change our mind on certain things, we're here with the open mind. Come here with the open mind and maybe we'll change your mind.
Awesome. So Ricas Platicas, we're gonna be with you soon. Episodes every week. So we hope you stick with us. And like Jesse said, we would be happy to talk to anyone, any talent you have, anything you want to share with the public. I know a lot of people kind of get scared and say, "Well, how do I get started? If I have a talent, how do I get started?" Well, you have an open invitation here, so you can get started here.